you're going to Medina in a couple of weeks, in a month or so. Bill, you'll be at Medina, yes? And you too?
Yep.
Good for you. Well, with that, why don't we begin the open forum portion of the meeting, and hopefully we'll fix this and come back to Mr. Palmer. It's just about 10 minutes following him. That's some pretty compelling stuff, but what would you all like to talk about? Want to talk about your new headquarters building? You all are the proud owners of a really fine asset, and maybe Tom could give us an update on just where we are with that.
Sure.
There's some renderings over here of the inside of the building as well as the elevations from the outside, and Tom has been working diligently on our behalf to complete the purchase of this building. We're just about ready to move in.
You all here? If I stand here? Okay. I hope you've read, I think you've read, you've seen at various meetings that we've had starting a couple of years ago, actually, when we first started talking about whether we should purchase a building and move forward on that, and then the conversations about using and utilizing our investment proceeds to go ahead and purchase a building, and we did. We took possession on May 14th this year of that wonderful building in Ontario. It's some of you have heard this, and some of you have not. It's 8,240 square feet. It's a two-story building. We purchased it for $134 a foot, square foot, which is extraordinary. The tenant improvements, or TIs as they're known, were done inside. So the 134 included the TIs. And again, that's extraordinary given its location in Ontario. It's just off the Interstate 10, off of Haven Avenue. Great location, and we're really excited about it. The staff's excited. Not to speak for the board, but the board is excited about it. And we're just about ready to start some remodeling inside. We've received 3 bids from general contractors. Jeff and I are meeting with a GC a week from Friday. It looks like that general contractor is the one that we will use. It's called Icon Construction Company, and they had the lowest bid by far, and we're very happy. I've met with the representative from Icon on numerous occasions, and as you see in the drawings over there, we're planning, we're going to redo the reception area. We're also, when you walk in, and I would encourage you, if you want to see the building, call me from time to time. Well, we're there almost every day at a certain time, so I would encourage you, if you have the opportunity, to come take a look at the building. When you walk in, there'll be a nice library on your left. You've maybe seen in our e-news that we've asked if anyone has any books or any artifacts that they would like to loan or give us or display at the building. We'd like to see that. We've had a couple responses, which is very, very nice. We've even had a response from a person who wants to take care of the books because, as some of you might know, when you get rare books and you get collectible books or anything like that, it takes certain care, and we're planning on that as well. So we're excited about that. If you look at the floor plan, there's a big room. It's 1,100 square feet. We'll use that as an education center. And as a matter of fact, we've talked about having this meeting there next year. So we're working on that. We hope to have some nice audio-visual equipment in that room. We're planning on having 2 flat screens and a drop-down screen so we can put together very, very nice seminars and educational activities. It'll seat about 65 people, theater style. So that's a nice number. And then there's also, we want this building to be really a center for you, like a member area, member service center. Like if you go to the show next week, for example, we have the member service center in the exhibit hall. That's kind of the feeling we want to have. We want to have this where you feel like you can come to this building at any time and use this building. As a matter of fact, we'll have some conference rooms available. We'll have an office available. We have the education room available and the library available. And we're excited about it. Downstairs will be our junior golf department. And then on the second story will be the administrative, if you will, area, and our new boardroom. Part of the remodeling will include doing a boardroom. And it'll be around I think it's about 480 feet. Actually, it's a little bit larger. It's 540 feet, I believe. And we're excited about that, that we'll have our own boardroom for the first time in many, many years since Brea, I guess, when we were in Brea. And so we're excited about the building, and the sign went up a couple of weeks ago. So if any of you are in that area, want to drive by that area, again, it's on Concourse right off of Haven on the north side of Interstate 10. It's a standalone building in an office park, and it's a beautiful building. It's a beautiful office park, and again, we're very excited about that. The plans were approved with the City of Ontario last week, and so it's just a matter of approving the contractor, pulling the permits, and we go to work. And we anticipate, I like to be a little bit positive of being in the building mid-October. The staff thinks we're probably going to have our Christmas party there as an opening, but I hope if we get started, I'm looking at mid-October, and I'll say it to the 1st of November when we get in. So we're anxious, we're ready to go. We've selected the communications company. We're close to selecting the security company, and so we're doing things like that and working diligently to get those kinds of things done, and we're excited about it. As I said, the staff's excited. We've got most of the newer staff already lives in Rancho Cucamonga, and of course they're anxiously awaiting, because they moved to Rancho Cucamonga or found their living quarters in Rancho Cucamonga based on us opening that office soon. So there'll be 4 or 5 of us that'll be driving from Beaumont. So we have one of our staff who's ready to move there. So I think it's going to be very, very good, and it'll be a nice opportunity for you all whenever you want to use it. It's going to allow us to do our job better. I believe, too, it will create more of a synergy with a community that we can use to our benefit as well, whether it be for sponsorships, whatever that might be, because of interest. Plus, there's a lot of great restaurants, too, there, which is kind of nice, and looking forward to that as well. So that's it on our office. If you, during a break or so, if you want to take a look at the drawings, again, we've put it in e-news, and then if anybody has any questions or comments, I'm always interested in that. Anybody have any questions or comments now about our building? Okay, it's going to be fun, and we appreciate having the opportunity to purchase a building like this and an opportunity to work in this building. We're very excited about it, and really look forward to it. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Tom. I dare say that you really will love this building and all of the improvements that are going to take place. I hope that you'll take advantage of the library and of the resources that are available there, whether it's bringing a meeting to one of the conference rooms that we'll have set up for that purpose, or just to show it off. You're welcome to conduct your chapter board meetings there if you'd like. It really will be a resource and a home for you and for anything that you choose to do there. It's just absolutely beautiful. And Tom had mentioned that we're collecting a number of things. We've got a lot of books and a lot of memorabilia, and if you all have anything that you'd like to contribute to these areas that will be well secured and well looked after for the library or the Hall of Fame section, we'd love to talk to you about that. You know, I was thinking about the PGA Championship that just concluded as Tom was talking, and I always, you know, I was amazed at Rory McIlroy's performance for one, but then I was thinking about it in terms of hearing Mr. Kinnett a little bit earlier, and in the room with us this morning is Jerry Barber, Jerry Barber's son, Tom. Jerry Barber won the PGA Championship 51 years ago, I think it was. Yeah, so congratulations. Yeah, that's good stuff. You know, we've got such a rich history in this section. So many talented people that have contributed so much. Also with us this morning, Sue Fisco, our District 11 Director. As you all know, we've got 14 districts that comprise the PGA of America, and Sue is our current District Director, and we're lucky to have a seat at the table these next 3 years with the incoming Director for the Association, and Bill Hulbert, who's also here with us this morning. So, Bill, congratulations, and Sue, thank you. Yeah. So, how can we help? What do you want to talk about? What can we do? It really is on behalf of the staff who has a single-minded goal, and that's to make your PGA membership as valuable as it can possibly be. They're committed and dedicated to everything that's important to you, and I would implore you to just tell us what we can do to help, what we can do to make it better. What's not working, what is? Sean, please.
I have a question. Mr. Addis, you do a great job of trying to keep us abreast to water rights and what's going on, and I know that there's maybe a pipeline or something maybe in Northern California. What's the latest on water and what's going on in the industry there?
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Sean had asked about what the latest on water use and any I'm going to put words in your mouth, any legislation and what's happening. As some of you know, we're also involved in an organization called California Alliance for Golf. And California Alliance for Golf is an activist group that includes the major golf associations, corporations and the like, individuals in California involved in golf and interested in golf. And you may see from time to time, whether you go to SCPGA.com and our governmental page, we try to keep you updated on the activities and the programs that are going on within California. And of course, water is a big deal. And whether it be how water is transported from Northern California to Southern California, which is an issue right now, and whether it's spending money to move the water from the Delta in Sacramento, and as you read there, we do have opposition there, whether it's moving water from the Colorado River into the Coachella Valley, and we try to monitor that, and we also spend a lot of time with the LADWP. We're able to sit on a committee, a focus group, an advisory group with both San Diego and LADWP, and at least keep apprised of what's going on and educating these groups into the real role of golf, because there's still that perception out there that golf is an excess user of resources. And as a matter of fact, and I hope you know this, golf is one of the most reasonable users of resources. In the way we control, whether it's pesticides, whether it's irrigation, whatever that might be, and we do a very good job, I believe, whether it be through us, the Southern California Golf Association, Northern California Golf Association, whatever organizations are involved, to keep everybody apprised of what we really do in the industry, and to save and to promote resources and resourcing. So legislation right now is sort of quiet, but you're going to see a lot of activity, and particularly when it comes to moving that water into the Coachella Valley, moving the water from Northern California, and the costs associated with that. Just like in Los Angeles, we're due for a 20% increase here in the next 2 years, and you continue to see this increase. And John, I know, McNair has some interest in that as well. You continue to see these major increases in the cost of water. A lot of it is simply moving the water, and you might have as much as $200 to $300 an acre foot to move that water from one point to another, notwithstanding the cost of you purchasing that water, and then of course that movement cost is tacked on the top of that. So I don't know if we're ever going to be able to do anything in regulating those costs. One of the things that's happened is we've done such a good job in regulating, in controlling our use, in watching our resources, not only us, but everybody, and now we're into the supply and demand picture, where we've done such a good job. The water companies are saying, hey, we're making less money, so all of a sudden we see some rate increases based on that, and that's a significant issue as well. So yeah, we've done a better job in saving, but now we're using less water, so we need, you know, the prices are sometimes jacked up. We see that everywhere. So, but we continue to monitor that, just like the tax issues. Even though the sales tax and use tax issues are sort of on the back burner right now, although they're really not, we continue to monitor that as well. You've seen some information, some conversation over the last couple of months about the use tax in California and what's going to happen in November. Right now, we don't see anything happening within the golf industry in that regard. Some of you know that we were very successful 3 years ago in battling a sales tax increase, and because of the efforts of you and the allies in California, we were able to stay that. And we were able to prove that, number one, that bill was inconsistent and didn't encompass what it should have encompassed, and that came to our benefit. But I think in the future you're going to see, especially what's happening in this state, whether it's roads or education, it's going to be much, much more difficult to say we can't support a sales tax increase because of what's happening with the infrastructure in California. That's going to be a real issue and statement in the future. And you go anywhere from, and we continue to meet with legislators around Southern California and around the state to continue to talk about what will happen and what our place will be. If we do see a use tax increase, it's going to be across the board with every activity. It's going to be veterinarians, it's going to be golf, it's going to be movie theaters, it's going to be every service that you can think of will end up being taxed. And it'll end up being the State Board of Equalization, of course, that will say, here's how it's going to be taxed. And we anticipate that we will be faced with a sales tax in golf. What we've heard, which seems to be the most positive, just so you know, and this is probably looking, if it goes that far, probably 2014. We don't think at this point that anything's going to happen in 2013. But you will see possibly in 14, you might see a flat tax. You might see the income tax in California be reduced, that tax be reduced to a flat tax of 4%. Now that doesn't say that there isn't going to be other city taxes just like sales tax or county taxes. And you might see a sales tax come along and being reduced from from the current rate to 4%. So you might see a flat tax, I'm just throwing this out there right now, of 4% across the board, income and use taxes. And what the thought is of the legislators who support that, which might be our best option, by the way, when you start looking at these things, is the feeling is by reducing the income tax, that's going to stimulate business of staying or coming back into California. And by reducing the sales tax, along with reducing the state income tax, by doing that, that means people are going to have more money to spend and pay sales tax. So the feeling might be that we reduce the income tax, that puts money in my pocket to go out and buy a car, and instead of paying 7, 8, 9%, I'm going to pay 4%. And that stimulates the economy. That's the feeling right now, and you might very well see that in at least we talked about towards the end of 2013 and then going into 2014. So those are the kind of things, Sean, thanks for asking, that are happening out there, as well as one of the major activities that California Alliance for Golf is undertaking at this point. In Southern California PGA, by the way, we do have a lobbyist in Sacramento. His name's Steve Baker. Some of you have been at meetings and met Steve. Very efficient, very good person. That the Southern California PGA, the Southern California Golf Association, and the Northern California Golf Association shares in the cost right now of paying for Steve Baker. That, as far as our expenditure side, we spend $16,000 a year in sharing that cost as a section. It comes out of our foundation. And we're looking at probably next year possibly of raising enough money through California Alliance for Golf that we will be able to significantly reduce or eliminate that cost to the section. We are also undertaking, and some of you are involved in this, and there's some of you in the room right now who are going to be involved in this year. We're starting the research for an update to the California Golf Economic Report we did in 2008. And we're adding an environmental segment to this report this time. So some of you may be asked to provide some information, for example. But we're starting, in fact, we have our a conference call tomorrow, which is really the kickoff to that group getting together to start talking about gathering that information and where we go from there. We hope to have that published within the first quarter or near to the first quarter of 2013. We don't see any problem with that at this point. That's an expensive deal. But we've been able to gather the funding for that through really a kind of a hat pool with members of the California Alliance for Golf. That report's going to cost $60,000 to do that report. And if any of you have seen it, we have it on the website, or I can certainly send it to you, and we have sent a number out via email over the past 2 or 3 years. It's a very significant report. The last report, and it'll be interesting to see the comparison. Golf in California is a $16.9 billion industry with all of its related activities. It's about a $7 to $7.5 billion industry, golf specific. But then you start adding lodging, you start adding real estate, you start adding the charities to that. And by the way, golf, California was the largest producing state for charitable contributions in the country. Golf, as you know, is the largest charity giving sport and activity in the world. And California, we did just under $250 million in charity in 2007. And so we're anxious to see how those numbers compare when we do the new report. Will we reach 16.9 billion? Or will it be more than that? We don't know that. Will it be the direct revenue? Will it be less than 7 billion or more than 7 billion? It'll be interesting to find out, and how those numbers have changed, because we've all been impacted, as you well know, over the last 4 years in the golf industry. So with our revenues, so it's still one of the largest. Golf still provides. It's still one of the largest employers with 62,000 people in California. Therefore, you talk about taxes, we provide more payroll taxes to the state than any other state. So you think about things like that as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that's been impacted over the last few years as well. So that's kind of the governmental stuff, Sean. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Anybody have any questions about that, or any comments in regards to what's happening with government? By the way, we have an email, if you want another email. We have, if anybody wants to be on our government relations email list, just please let me know. What we do is we get updates. There's articles that come out throughout California, throughout Southern California, that are quite interesting, and if you want to be included on that email train or chain, please let me know. It gets pretty interesting, and it can help you in your job as well. You know, one of the things with knowing what's going on with the economy in California, you can sit down with, if you're in a position to talk with your employers, your staff, and everybody becomes more aware of what golf really means in California, especially to the economy. And that could be a great employment picture as well, saying, we know what's going on with the economy. Here's what we do. Here's how we impact the economy by doing our job well. So if anyone wants any of that information, please let me know. Okay? Thank you.
Well, and there is plenty of that information. We're lucky to share an alliance with the SCPGA and their governmental affairs department. Tom serves as the president of the California Alliance for Golf. And partnering with Craig Kessler and the SCPGA, there's no lack of wisdom when it comes to these issues. As Sean had asked about water, there are many downtown clubs not too far from here that have found recycled water and potable water are just about at the same cost now, in many cases paying as much as $1,000 an acre foot. And most 18-hole golf courses in the summer might use as much as 2 acre-feet a night. So you can imagine the impacts of some $50,000 to $60,000 a month to irrigate the golf course. The environmental effect is one thing, but the sheer cost of irrigating golf courses has become a dramatic problem for many facilities. And in the San Diego area, there are many that work with the Otay Water District that are spending $500,000 a year to irrigate their golf courses. That has an impact on green fees.
I have one more thing related to, if you don't mind, to government and activities with the government. One thing that we don't think about, and where our government relations is really important, is in player development, growth of the game. And we've found that it's very, very important. You see some national scale events in We Are Golf, for example, and you read about that stuff. But there's more and more belief and more activity that's coming, and that has to come down to the local level. And asking our legislators to be involved with us in regards to activities that can help build golfers. For example, we don't have much access with Parks and Recreation. I know Nikki works hard in that regard, but we still have a difficult time in going to the P&R departments of various communities and saying, hey, give us a break, or let us use your Little League fields, or let us help us to promote the activity of golf within your community. And legislators can help us do that. City and county officials can help us do that. So one of our tenets, if you will, and one of the activities that we're engaged in frequently is talking with our legislators to help promote the use of some of these facilities and help us build the game, whether it's through the school systems, Parks and Recreation, whatever it is, because we're doing a good job, for example, with the Boys and Girls Clubs, with the Girl Scouts, those kinds of programs. And we need your help there too, because one of the things, once we get into these activities, is we need somewhere to bridge these young people, or whoever it might be, to your golf facility. That's our obligation too, is to help promote your golf facility. And Jason's involved in with Lorena Choa Golf Foundation, needing to move people that we pull into the game somewhere to play. So it's not like the old days where you give them a golf club and a golf ball and say, go hit balls. You need to move these people from the activities you're doing into a golf facility. And so we need your help to do that too. And we do all these programs out there, whether it be at Carlsbad Festival, whether it be at LA Downtown Festival, whether it be the Route 66 Festival in San Bernardino, when people come hit balls in our hitting cage, we need to say to them, okay, you can go to this club, you can go to this range, and you can have an activity and a real activity by going there, and we need to do that. And part of that, again, is getting with our government representatives and saying, hey, we need your help. We need your help to go to the city and say, hey, we need some off-time help here. And by the way, the cities are starting to realize, in the counties, how important it is to go back to kind of the old days in marketing. We've had some great meetings, and we continue to have meetings with the city and county of Los Angeles, for example, Santa Barbara, and saying how important it is to say, you know, Munis really used to be where we started the game. You need to be there again. You need to say to your public, hey, come begin the game here. But that's going to create some sacrifices at the same time, of giving up maybe some range balls on Saturday afternoon, or giving up some tee times on Saturday or Sunday afternoon that aren't being used. Everything that we talk about, and I think we're starting to make some headway in that regard, and that's one of the alliances, as Jeff mentioned, that we have with the Southern California Golf Association, for example, and utilizing the resources of our organizations together to go to these government agents and say, hey, we need your help. Let's get together, and we need to do this together to help build these rounds and build these players and start bringing some revenue to your facility. So it's a combined effort from everybody in that regard. So we constantly, if you know legislators, if you know city council people, if you know county council people, any relationship that you can develop with a government official in your community is going to be to everyone's benefit, not just yours, but to everyone, because the word will spread. And one legislator talks to, hey, are you aware of this program? Are you aware of the program that Joe Groman's doing at Navy Golf Course for the disabled person, for the blind person? And all of a sudden that word spreads and golf becomes better. And hopefully that's where you start to see reaching that 40 million golfers, and you start to see that revenue stream start to be effective, and that's what our goal is. So thanks for letting me be on the soapbox there, President.
I'm gonna get you one. Thanks, Tom. You know, one of the things that one of the things we do talk about a lot is the fact that we do neighborhood golf, for instance, and we reach an awful lot of people with a very compelling story about golf. And maybe they get a golf club and maybe they show a spark of interest, but then there's nowhere for them to go. And it's critical that that bridge really be something we take seriously in an effort to make more people have access to the game once they've gotten a taste of it. Instead, what we find is that there's some discouragement and many barriers because access isn't as easy as it should be. We're lucky to have Nikki with us this morning and Ken here. There's a joint effort going on your behalf with employment and with growing the game of golf, a tired old expression if ever there were one, growing the game of golf. I'm not sure any of us really know what that means anymore. But I do know that there are programs and initiatives and thoughts and ideas that can help stimulate people and spur an interest in the game of golf. But it's up to us to sort of follow through on that. So it's critical that we're all buying this new message. And to that end, Nikki, if you've got anything you'd like to say, or any questions from you to Nikki about 2.0, this $5 million effort on behalf of all PGA members and apprentices to grow the game, conducted by our association. Nikki would be the expert, and I'm certainly able to address any questions or concerns you all might have. Or if you just want to make some blanket statements, that would be wonderful.
Oh, never pass up an opportunity.
Let me bring you this mic. But it doesn't work, so you want to just hold it.
Maybe if we turn it on.
Oh.
Does that work better?
No.
Certainly.
That's all right.
That's okay, I can talk loud.
Use your mom voice.
Yeah. I'll just echo a few things that have already been said. I mean, you've all heard my spiel about growing the game and the importance of it. I'm going to revert back to my experiences the past week. I was fortunate enough to go back to Kiowa and Charleston for the PGA Championship, and kind of had a family vacation plan that coincided with the tournament. So it was a nice killing two birds there. So I want to talk about some things that the PGA did that week. And there was some discussion, I don't know if some of you are familiar with the setup of the championship. The actual championship playing on the ocean course is basically the tip of an island. Very, very difficult to get to. Transportation was very difficult. So the conversation was, if we're going to do a community effort, grow the game programs, are we going to do it at the championship site on the island, or do we do something in the community of Charleston, which is about an hour away? I kind of threw my 2 cents in since I've lived in Charleston and worked on the island and
Plus
said.
you do that.
What's that?
I said, plus you do that.
I tend to do that sometimes. Kind of getting me off track. Anyway, we talked about, if we really want to reach people and go out into the community and expose the game of golf, then we probably need to be in the city, in the city of Charleston, because the people that are going to the ocean course and making that effort are very avid golfers, and we probably have a little bit more benefit going into the city. So that's what they did, and they threw together what they called the Get Golf Ready Family Fun Zone. And they partnered with the county Parks and Rec of Charleston and went to 5 different county parks throughout the week, Wednesday through Sunday. And then actually in the evenings, they did that during the day, 10 to 2, and then in the evenings they went to the minor league baseball team that's there, the Charleston River Dogs, and were there for a couple hours, similar to what we've done at minor league teams. Basically, they did neighborhood golf. Talked to us a lot about, they're very familiar with what we do here in the section. They had the big Golfzilla, they had putting contests, the whole team was there from player development. It was great. great publicity from the city. You know, can't say enough about it. Estimated that about 14 to 15,000 people were exposed to the game and the program and the PGA and PGA professionals that week, with estimated about 3,000 or 4,000 people that actually went through and did an activity. So obviously you're going to have people that walk through and see it, but only about 3,000 people actually did something with the activities. So that's great numbers. Also estimated how we got these numbers. You know, we obviously had them fill out a card, get their email address, get some data. 72% were new to the game, so that's wonderful. Pretty high percentage of kids, as you can imagine, about 75%. We would have liked to have seen that a little bit lower and get some more adults in, but you know that's fine. 51% were women, and about 25% minority. So some really good numbers, very, very positive. Now I'm going to kind of put on a negative hat for a second. The people that were conducting these activities were PGA staff, which is great. Very similar to what we do neighborhood golf. And I don't want to stand up here and bash my former brothers and sisters of the Carolinas section. Not one local professional or facility was represented that whole week at those events. So we made a great impact. We introduced the game, we exposed the game, the PGA, what was going on in their city for that week. You know, great buzz going on. They really connected with our team that was there, giving lessons and having fun. But those people packed up and went back to Florida or went back to Chicago or wherever they were coming in from. Those people never got a chance to interact with a local professional. Now, yes, of course, we had, you know, flyers and so forth to help promote some of the local courses that were there, maybe some of the local facilities that have successful Get Golf Ready programs. You know, we're going to do our best, and we're obviously going to follow up with emails to all these people that came through the programs and direct them to the Get Golf Ready website so they can hopefully put in their zip code and find a facility near them. But there's really only so much that we can do as a staff to connect these people, like Tom was talking about, and he's talked about for years. And it's just very interesting, and as much of a success as it was last week, there's something missing. There's that bridge that's missing. So unfortunately, those 14,000 people, there's 3,000 people that actually connected and had fun. Now where do they go? And let's just hope that they figure that out and figure out that they can go to the Charleston Municipal Golf Course or Patriots Point or down to Kiowa or wherever they might want to go. Was there a question in the back?
Well, I don't want to jump out of line, but I had the pleasure of sitting home Sunday and watching the final round of the PGA Championship, which was pretty rare.
Yeah.
So I got to do that. I don't remember seeing a commercial regarding PGA of America and what we do. Am I incorrect there?
Well,
Am I incorrect?
I saw some, I watched it.
Yeah.
I
There was
watched
a number.
I saw some, and then
They
there's
did
also
golf
some
ready.
result, yeah.
Yeah, they did get golf ready.
There's nothing about PGA of America and what we do for the game. Am I correct?
Good point. No, it was all get golf ready.
Yeah, it's all Get Golf Ready, not PGA of America.
There was a little segment on Saturday about the
I think
PGA.
somebody kind of goofed there.
On Saturday?
I
We're
think
gonna
Vance had
spend
it.
$5 million
Oh, yeah.
on this new project here. Did I hear that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and not one thing about our championship and who we are, what we do. Every one of us here are working, most of us, 12, 13, 14 hours a day to make a living.
We did do the, I don't recall what day it was, and there was a little segment on Saturday as well. But we also did what Michael, which he narrates, the actor.
Michael Douglas.
Douglas, we
Yeah.
did that piece.
The history of the PGA.
Yeah, the history of which, I know it's not what you're talking about, but there was that piece on there. And then again, they did devote most of our spots, or all of our spots, to the GGR stuff, which, by the way, had 2 of our section members in there.
Yes.
Seiko Inoue and Paul Devine were the featured instructors in those. So at least we had, that part of it.
I'll just keep working away.
No, good point, though, good point.
Very valid point, and
Yeah.
I'll be happy to pass that along to headquarters.
It was
I don't have an answer for
disappointing.
you, you know.
It was disappointing in
Yeah.
my mind. Great championship.
Mhm.
Everything was great. It was really disappointing that, well, there went that. Great time to put our name a little bit more out there. And it just didn't happen. I was waiting for 5 hours for it to happen. It didn't happen.
Well,
Congratulations on yours.
very valid point, and I'll be happy to pass that along and see what that answer is.
Nikki, to your point that there were no PGA members there, and that to me has always been, the hard part, particularly when some of this stuff is done on the weekend and they're working at their own facilities, and it's hard to get away. But are you finding that endemic throughout the nation, number one? And number two, was this done in conjunction with the section that they knew about, or this was strictly a national thing that they set up? In other words, was the section at fault as well for not being able to provide some?
I wasn't involved with the planning, so I can't specifically answer that. Obviously, it was organized from national headquarters. I would assume that they reached out to the section. I can only assume that, because I wasn't involved with the planning.
Typically the PGA does.
I would imagine that they
Yeah.
would, because they've come to us for certain meetings as well, so.
And was
I
section
understand
staff
it was a
there?
busy week, it was a busy week in that town, a lot of people in town, a lot of people who play golf. Certainly understand, again, I don't wanna stand up here and bash any of our fellow professionals. I'm just making a point that here were 14,000 people that were exposed to the game in a fun manner. And unfortunately, they didn't have that one-on-one connection with a local professional. And sometimes, unfortunately, we're getting a lot better, but sometimes, in the beginning of the creation of neighborhood golf, we faced the same challenges.
Yeah, but I can go back to when we hosted the PGA at Riviera, and, our section staff and section support from board members, other section members, it was pretty much devoted, to supporting that championship. So, pretty tough to maybe have that expectation. I see your point, but on the other hand, where are their resources going?
We see it improving in our section in that regard. An example might be the day we had, where's Alex? A week or so ago at the ballpark in Lake Elsinore, where they provide a golf night, and a golf facility can take and get a table. And granted, there's only 4,000 or 5,000 people there that night, but at the same time, there's 4,000, 5,000 people there that night. And we can set up a table, a golf facility can set up a table and hand out brochures and all that kind of stuff. The first year we did it, 0 golf facilities, which really surprised us. This year we had 7 or 8 golf facilities. So it is getting better in that regard, and I think you all are starting to recognize the value of going out to these kinds of programs, especially if you can promote your golf facility, whether it's a range or a golf course or whatever, indoor, whatever that might be. So I think we're seeing, Bill, to your comment, I think we're seeing more participation in that regard as well. The LA Golf Show, we had more participation this year than we have had in the past from our fellow PGA professionals. So I think it is getting better in that regard.
A thing on that, we were at neighborhood golf at minor league game. We were, I think it was one of the properties as well that gave a pass. We get a free bucket of range balls, also a really discounted round of golf. They want to come out. We just wanted to stimulate them to get to our property, because they're going to get 70% of people that are good golfers. So I'd recommend getting involved with that, but make sure you do have an offer, put it together, so you can actually then draw them into your golf course to introduce them to the game, number one. But more importantly, then eventually that can be a customer. Maybe a range customer to start, maybe someday they're paying for green fees. So
Yeah, there has to be some reason to bounce them there. That's right.
exactly, and I know that we had our own, but I know the PGA, the section actually, you can create your own coupons for you for free that comes with the program. So
Right.
I just know it's been a good success when you go to.
Good.
Good. Good. Anybody else have any comments or questions? I know Ken might want to speak to this as well, but was it a couple weeks ago now? Still trying to get out of vacation mode. All of our player development regional managers, as well as all of our employment consultants, all got together in Dallas and had a really phenomenal couple days of just talking about everything. It was supposed to be a training the trainer session, and we did some of that, but it also turned into just sharing, some of the successes that we're hearing, some of the challenges that we know we're facing in the industry and across the country, and it was really great to just kind of open our minds to a different way of thinking and kind of reshifting. I know for me, anyway, reshifting our focus on not so much educating and pounding, golf 2.0, and this is what it is. I think we've all figured out what it is, and you know where I'm going with this, Ken. We've all figured out the what. We know how important player development is. I mean, it's basically what we were founded on. I think Mr. Kinnett was doing golf 2.0 back in the 50s as we listened to his stories. But now it's time to figure out the why. And we had a whole big conversation on this. Why do you do what you do every day? Why did you get into this industry? Why should it be important to you to grow the game? All these things, and even talking about us as staff members. Why do we do what we do? What is our motivation? Why do we want to help you as a PGA professional become more successful personally and professionally? So it's very just thought-provoking, and Ken, if it's okay with Jeff, I might hand it over to you if you wanted to add a few more things, but it was really a great couple days of getting together.
Well, let me say I'm always grateful when you ask permission, so yes, with that.
I didn't know how much time
Ken,
we
you may
had
speak.
left, so.
Well, good morning again, everyone. I'd kind of like to say a couple things about employment too, but before I do, I want to go back to Mr. Kinnett and Mr. Wooten standing up here and talking about what I really heard was a lot of mentorship. And as they were putting names out of the people that they talked about who their mentors were, and then also who they were mentoring. And those people went on to mentor others. And if you think about that, how critical that is, what a mentor really does is push somebody else and help them become the best that they can possibly be. It doesn't always mean that they're going to be their friend necessarily, because sometimes a mentor has a lot of tough love. And the critical nature of being a mentor and is really part of our profession. And as I look at the people in this room, and currently I would consider probably 3 people here as my key mentors in the golf industry. And certainly I started out with Tom Sargent, who I worked for 3 years. And the one thing I remember is that I got to become a PGA member as fast as I possibly could under the current option that was there for me, and that was the old business school format. In other words, it was a 3-year program, and I got done in 3 years. One of the reasons is because if I got done in 3 years in one day, I was getting my fanny kicked by my mentor. And he asked me every day, "Where are you at, Farrell? Where are you at today?" And he was always there. And that's one of the most important things that really helped me continue on to get my first-hand professional position. And really, after 3 years with Tom, I didn't have all the answers, but I certainly had the tools to understand, or the knowledge to understand, and the tools to go out and succeed as a head golf professional. And that was exactly what I wanted. That's what my desire was. And so any chance I get to publicly thank Tom, I promised myself I would do. And Tom, I greatly appreciate the time that I spent underneath you and everything that you gave me. I later got to work with Dave.
One question.
Here it comes. Go ahead.
Have you learned to show up on time?
I only missed once in 3 years. And he was there in my place, and that's the last time I ever was late, I think. But later I got to work underneath Dave Foster, who was a great mentor as a regional golf professional with the corporation that I worked at. In fact, Dave helped elevate me to a regional golf professional. Dave, I'm thankful for the time that you gave me. And then, of course, Tom Addis, one of the privileges of my position is getting to spend so much time with Tom and certainly the officers. And as the officers come in and go out, Jason, you know, as the honorary president, and that turnover, I can spend a lot of time with them. And they're all mentors to me. The reason I say that, and the reason that's so important, is because mentorship in our industry is absolutely critical for continued growth, for who we are and who we're going to become. And the impact that Tom's made and Dave made on me changed my life and helped me become better and helped me reach a lot of my professional goals and personal goals. And I just know that right now, somebody underneath you or around you, whether they work for you or not, is waiting for you to impact and change their lives. It's the nature of our business, you know. And when I take a look at Tom Barber, I caddied for Louise Bruce, and on the LPGA tour for a couple of years. And your father was Louise's coach, teach, and mentor. And I remember how much he meant to her. And she had some success with his teachings, those kind of things. Every one of us do. And so just remember one thing, as you go back to your work today and tomorrow, somebody is waiting for you to change, to impact and change their life. And that's absolutely critical. I think he talked about the leadership meeting that we went to. One of the things that I got from it was that we really have to be motivators to our fellow professionals, especially with the strategy of Golf 2.0 and player development, because there are 3 core pillars to Golf 2.0. There's 12 initiatives, and there's 9 different segments of people that we're trying to reach in golf. And I would ask each of you to see if you could come up with 3 of them. And I would also ask how many of you have actually gone onto the Golf 2.0 website and truly are experts in the strategy of Golf 2.0. If you're not, nobody else is. And we really truly are the best at what we do. And so we need to be the best that we possibly can be. I think that's absolutely critical. That's what I grew up underneath from him and from him and from him. And I want to encourage all of you to be those mentors to people in your industry. And again, it's not just people that work for you. It's me to Greg and Greg to me, peer to peer as well. With regards to employment, just a couple of things. Jobs are way up. If you're not receiving a lot of job postings, call me and let's talk about where your profile is at. Because jobs are way up. We've posted as many this year as we've posted all of last year so far when it comes to management positions. And what I'm now starting to see is I'm starting to see head professional, director of golf positions become available again, where we saw very, very few of those for a couple of years. So at least I wanted to let you know about that. Any questions that you might have about employment that I can answer for you? Yes, sir.
Ken, and Sue may be able to address this. The association just approved a $64 million budget for 2013, and I see that only $2.9 million has been allocated for employment. I found that to be a staggering number. Staggering, I guess, because of my ignorance. It would seem it would be tremendously more than $2.9 million in a $64 million budget.
That's correct, and that $2.9 million is for the employment department and the 12 employment consultants around the country.
So it rings a little bit, as we were discussing a moment ago, we've got $5 million allocated to this all-important initiative, but out of that $5 million to 2.0, almost $2.5, maybe $3 million is going to support staff, salary, benefits, and related work. So where are these resources really being allocated, and how, on a $64 million budget with $150 million in reserves, can our association allocate so little to the very lifeblood of what it is we're supposed to be doing? And I know that feels like an arrow, and I'm not shooting it at you, but I'm really looking and struggling with some clarification.
I think that, well, first of all, the board doesn't make those decisions. The department heads, and in this case Kathy Wilkes, puts forth her budget. My hope is, and I'm sure, and I think Bill will agree with me, is that 2.0, going the way we hope it's going to go, is going to inspire more facilities to want to hire more PGA professionals, because we have a huge gap. We have over 3,000 facilities in this country that do not have a PGA presence. I think with Golf 2.0, if it's done correctly, he's going to be very busy, she's going to be very busy, and it's going to demand that we expand our employment department. So I'm hoping that that is the evolution of what happens, and I think Bill probably would agree with me. So it may be too little now, and when I was on the employment committee, we wanted more. We didn't get more, we wanted more. And I'm hoping we do the next time around.
So it's a staff-driven.
The budget is staff-driven, yes.
And as directors, you'll hear what the staff is recommending and either approve it or not approve it.
Correct, but by the time it gets to us, we're told that that's what she's happy with.
So, therein perhaps lies some of the problem.
Correct.
Well, I think too, Jeff, that, almost every budget item now has some relevance or is tied into 2.0. So even though you only see that figure for employment, part of what's budgeted to 2.0 is also, employment driven as well.
Targeted for employment, so, but, if it was doubled, again, as an ex-chairman of the employment department, if that was doubled, it wouldn't bother me at all.
So let me throw that back at you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, if you had more money budgeted, or we had more money budgeted in employment, where would you spend it, and how would you spend it? In other words, are we undercapitalized as far as per consultants, or do we have the right number, or are you looking for more support in what part of employment would you like to see more money spent?
Well, I suppose I'd ask that question of Ken. First, we'd get him a better car. And I would really rely on his wisdom and his, the empirical data he gets from meeting with all of us day in and day out. He may not need more resources, because Lord knows he's all over the map in this very large section. But when you're in Santa Maria one day trying to put out a fire or trying to help, and you're in Chula Vista the next day, and you're on the telephone constantly, it just seems as though you're stretched. A lot of people are suffering. A lot of people are feeling disenfranchised, and they need support and guidance. And thank God we've got Ken. And it's, again, very possible he doesn't need more. But globally, it seems as though there should be more than $2.9 million on a $64 million budget. And I'm just, again, saying that from an ignorant point of view, because it just doesn't weigh right to me. But to your point, I'd have to sit down and really think about where we need more, and maybe you could tell me if we do.
Yeah, and again, the question is posed to Kathy is if you had 15 employment consultants, you had 18 employment consultants, would we be able to produce more jobs for the PGA professionals? And are there some that we're missing? That's the big thing in determining how many we need. The next step from going to 12 consultants was to add more field people is what it really is. The best thing we can possibly do is have face-to-face time with employers and face-to-face time with you. The great thing about Southern California, the next step that we made really truly is Nikki and I, player development managers. So she's out now in Southern California, and I'm out now in Southern California, and that gives us a good presence out on the streets and a good presence also back in the office, fielding literally a day long of telephone calls as well. So as far as national is concerned, right now they have 21 members, field staff that are in place, and we consider that Golf 2.0 or the strategy of Golf 2.0 player development as really the catalyst to employment. More rounds, more revenue, more jobs.
Bill, I can tell you this, that when we get in the car and do these little employment caravans, and Ken and I and Tom will drive to Bakersfield, or or we'll go to the northern chapter, and we'll meet with a half a dozen golf professionals. It's that face-to-face time that is money well spent. But more important is meeting with owners and having that opportunity for an employment consultant or section representatives to meet with those decision makers and tell our story. I think that that's a very important part of all of this, and resources should be made available for that. And it's not just seeing the golf professionals in different chapters, it's seeing those golf professionals and helping them keep their jobs. So all of that happens in a room, not necessarily on the telephone and not necessarily by email. And I think if there were more money allocated and resources available so that there was a personal relationship with all 1,712 members and apprentices in this section, we have gone a long way to accomplishing those things. Jason and then Tom.
I have a question. So the $2.9 million goes to fund the employment department and the employment consultants. I've got a really good understanding of what you do and the magnitude of your job and what it takes. I don't know what our employment department is. Is it a cubicle with a desk and a calculator and one person? Is it a building?
Our employment department is, my boss is Kathy Welch, she's the director of employment. And then we have Kathy Lopez, who does a lot of administrative work for us as well. So there's two people from national, obviously they have offices, and that's what the department is. Back to national, and then the 12th field employment consultants.
Mr. Addis?
Yeah, I think the face-to-face time is extremely valuable, because as Jeff says, we do that now, and we need to do more. So I think anytime you can get, whether it's Ken, Nikki, myself, Jeff, or another person to be eye to eye is extremely important. Comment on Golf 2.0. When we first talked about Golf 2.0 3 years ago, it came up as an employment program. That's how it started. And the impetus, if you will, to hire Boston Consulting Group was based on a statement as we need to survive. Golf is in trouble. Our golf pros are in trouble. We need to do something. We need to build something that will stimulate the game and bring our PGA golf professional to the front in the employment picture. That's how Golf 2.0 started. So it really is an employment-based program as well when you look at it. Because when you get into 2.0 and you get into the book, it's our role to do that. It's the PGA golf professional to come forward and do Golf 2.0, to do player development, which will then propel us into the front of this business. The other part that I think, if we said we're going to spend more money, and I firmly believe this, goes back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago, it needs to be in public relations and promotion, but at the local level. I believe that we can spend a lot of money in the Southern California section or the Colorado section or the Sun Country section, whatever section, in promoting the PGA golf professional, whether it's PSAs or print ads. You know, Play Golf America 5 years ago was our biggest PR program, and we only spent $800,000 a year on Play Golf America. Ridiculous number. It's our primary program. We spend a lot more money now, but we need to get out and we need to do something, and we need to provide funds for the local sections or whatever entity to start promoting us as PGA golf professionals. And I don't mean just putting an ad in the paper, support your PGA golf professional. You have to have a program, you have to have a plan, and that costs money. And we need to start focusing on the local level, on the golf pros at the local level, the golf businesses at the local level in order to survive. And the PGA has to realize that. And the PGA needs to spend some money on that. And that's where I think our money can go, is in that PR program, and helping us do our business better and get out front.
Let me just make one comment, Bill, and then we'll go. There's also this possibility that exists, and we talk about it from time to time, that there are many little golf courses, struggling golf courses that are owned by cities that don't make money. And we talk about a bridge from somewhere to somewhere. We've got over 2,000 children in our junior program. We've got kids that are getting into the game of golf and in many cases don't have a place to go. What if our association partnered with the PGA Tour, the Club Managers Association, and the GCSAA and bought some of these little golf courses for $200,000 each, and provided employment opportunities for PGA members, for golf course superintendents, and in doing so, provided a playing field for kids and seniors, as well as enhancing the employment of many that are unemployed. It's not a stretch, it really isn't, and I think it should be an obligation.
Wouldn't even have to buy them, you could just
You
go
could
ahead and help
just
subsidize
run
those
them.
activities.
Exactly. Subsidize whatever losses there may be, knowing that we're likely to turn them around quickly with the programs that we have and can make available. Bill?
So Jeff, we got to the answer of where you're gonna spend the money, basically, where we're going to provide financial assistance to the sections to where they have field representatives, as Ken called them, whether they're section staff, whether they're working for national, whatever. It's people under the career consultants that are assisting the sections to go out, and as you said, you know, in the field, speaking with these people, you know, promoting, assisting, whatever, and then as Tom said, a program that gets down to a local level to truly promote the PGA and the PGA professional. So that's a big picture thing. Now, the question obviously is how do we garner support from that? Where does it come from? You know, the funds are obviously there, you know, and I think you're going to see, and I'm speaking maybe out of pocket here where I shouldn't really be, but you know, we're going to have a new CEO next year. There's probably going to be some restructuring, you know, of things and how the association is run. So there's opportunity going forward in 2013 to take something like this and act upon it. It's just a question of the sections obviously have to indicate the need and the desire. The board has to get behind it, whatever committee gets behind it, the officers have to get behind it. So it's, to my way of thinking, something totally justified and totally supported by certainly myself and probably a lot of other people. It's getting that big picture thing through and generating those two types of things that will truly get at what you're trying to get at.
It happens in rooms just like this, and it happens in private areas at someone's club. But in rooms just like this, hours devoted on opportunities to make one another smarter and more employable, enjoying the wisdom of Robin Shelton in the room, taking advantage of all of us who collectively have a great deal of knowledge and experience, continue to make us all infinitely more employable. Scott?
If the goal is to try to get more people to play golf, I have 4 kids, and I watch the TV that they're watching all the time and the promotions that are going on for the products that they're trying to sell to them, movies, games, other sports. It's all so much hipper and cooler than, no offense, but bagpipes and looking at Arnold Palmer and pictures of old guys that used to play. My kids are asleep in a minute watching stuff like that.
That's why we broke the video.
One of the things that seems to me that should be spent on is advertising and trying to create some sort of rock star status for a PGA professional and making us seem desirable so that the public clamors to have a PGA professional. Facilities follow suit and say we need to get these guys because they're popular right now.
No, I like that point. Rory McIlroy is cool.
Right.
And, cool is cool. Cool sells. Sue?
So Jeff, my question is advertising and promotion, is Golf 2.0, is that really part of our employment budget? It's just not under that. I mean, some of it is. Some of it is.
Yeah, I suppose it's all related in one
It's all
fashion or
interrelated
another.
now. It's all interrelated now, and like Tom says, we've got to figure out a way between now and the Olympics, because that would be a huge springboard for us to promote the individual PGA member, as well as get golf ready, as well as Golf 2.0, and let the public understand what the PGA member means. And
I'm sorry, it starts at the municipal level?
Well, it starts there, especially at the municipal level. The private sector, which was what I was in most of my career, knows the PGA profession. I'm gonna assume the resort level knows the PGA profession. But then you go into the municipal, public, military, we have people walk into pro shop someone that's allowed to teach them.
Do you wear the badge, or do you try in that regard to sort of
We do not
identify?
have our PGA logo on our
You can't.
PGA presence sometimes isn't very good when you get municipal level.
I'm thinking if we can hack those areas and let them know who we really are and what we really do.
When it gets back to those PSAs, and as you said earlier, we owned the airwaves for 7 days during the championship, and I certainly could have done more. Mr. Barber?
I was very disappointed in our representation at the PGA Championship on who we are and what we do. And I recently had a lady walk in the golf shop and she said, "Oh, Tom, well, you're never here." And I go, "Really? I'm never here. That's what I hear at home. Where am I?" And so I did a little skit, and I went, "Well, I do the buying and I pay the bills and I hire and fire and I go out to the ring and I teach golf and you know, we need to educate people on what we do, who we are exactly, not we're just a PGA professional. What do we do? All of those different hats that we wear. My God, you change your hat as a PGA professional 20 times a day, and you go back to another one, you come over here, and so forth and so on. And I just would like to see us represented better at our championship, and I would like to see more information to our club managers. I had made a suggestion a long time ago that when a job becomes vacant, that we had a committee that maybe went, I don't know if this is going on, I'm kind of out of touch, I guess, but they go and plop down with whoever's doing the hiring and find out this is why, this is, and maybe even who. Here are some people that are available in your area with 4 or 5 resumes that they could look at and help promote our own people.
And I would tell you that that's really what Ken does do.
God bless him.
And God bless him is right. Sometimes we get to the golf professional, we need to get to the people that are making the hiring decisions, the owners of the facilities, the city council, the municipalities, whatever agency it is that actually has control over our fate. And to your point about all of the hats and things we do, there's still that wonderful 25-piece scroll that the association will send you free of charge that you can put in a frame, and it lists all of the things that we presumably do day in and day out, and that's helpful. I know I have one hanging in my shop, and I know some people pay attention to it. But we've got a bigger story to tell, Tom.
And one other thing, when you have a job, you better damn well know who's making the decisions and who's in charge. You better know the politics of it. It's not just about being a good player, although I believe when I first became a member almost 44 years ago, I said to my father, how will I be recognized or known? He said, I only want to know one thing, son, how well do you play? Well, I think it's very important to play. I think it's very important to play with your members. I think it's very important to play in section events and local events. And I still play. I still love. That's why I'm in this game, because I love to play the game. But I really don't feel like that. Still to this day, they know what we do.
But I want to go to the other extreme, and I'm going back to the municipal golf course. And there are so many management companies that are running the municipal golf course that I work at, and the city owns them. They could care less whether there's a PGA Pro in the facility. They are concerned about the bean counters, and are you making money? Well, 2.0 is supposed to help us do that, but yet you get resistance to doing some of these ideas, and the resistance from, because American Golf, and I'll say the name, is so concerned about whether they've made a profit, and the city of Long Beach is so concerned about whether they've gotten their 8% out of that profit. They don't care whether Dennis is there. Dennis is not responsible for ordering. He's not responsible for running the golf course. I'm in the meetings, and they're concerned whether I'm producing lessons on the driving range. and whether we're making revenue on that. They have a general manager that's not a golf professional. They've got a merchandiser who's not a golf professional. They have food and beverage people that have no idea what a golf professional does. They've got starters inside that are pushing tee boxes and putting people on the tee. They could care less whether I'm getting my apprentices through the program or whether they're using us. We're more of directors of instruction, and that's all they want us for. Or if they're gonna run a tournament, are we doing the right thing by that tournament? How do we run the tee sheets and set them up? They could care less whether golf professionals are part of that system. And I think I'm pretty good, and I think I'm involved in the management team. And I think I'm helping our little facility do a good job with the junior golf programs and with all of the other stuff that we do. But they don't care whether they've got a golf pro there. But they are concerned whether we're making money and whether 2.0 works for them. They don't care. We've got the information coming down. It says we have to make X dollars. Dennis, figure out how you're gonna make X dollars on a driving range.
Dennis, excuse me, Jeff, one second. First off, they do care. And the reason is we met with municipalities and owners of golf courses. I do it every day, and Nikki's out there doing it every week. They do care, providing a couple of things. First off, that if they're bottom line driven, which everything is driven by growth and revenue, even at a private equity club, if their membership's down and they can't break even, they can't reach the goals that they want. How they care about you is if you're a catalyst to that bottom line. So one of two things: either we're not a catalyst to the bottom line. If we are, they desperately need us. That's the first thing. The second thing is if we are and they don't know about it, then that's a problem. And that's one of the big problems I see for a lot of us, is that owners and employers don't understand, like we're talking about, they don't understand our value. They believe that we're great with people skills and taking care of people, but they don't always understand the value that we have to the bottom line. Owners ask us, we go to employers panels, national employers panels, and they all say, Ken, go out and tell golf instructors to convert students to players. Because we understand they sell a bucket of balls when they're giving a golf lesson, but we want them to get that student, that new golfer, to go on the golf course by green fees, by food and beverage products, by merchandise, those kinds of things. If you have a direct impact on that, you become a huge value to that facility. And if you take a bottom line driven company like American Golf, you have a great value to them if you can do that. If you're doing that and they still don't understand your value, then you're not showing them, you're not quantifying them.
No,
Bill asked.
I'll tell you that you said the corporate line. You said exactly what the corporate headquarters said. That they want me to drive lessons into range balls, into rounds of golf, and into a steady customer. They don't give a rat whether I'm a PGA professional at all. They're looking for an instructor to drive. They could care less whether they're supporting this organization, the PGA. They care whether whoever is at that facility is driving their revenue. And so sometimes we try, and 2.0 has been implemented and says this is a really good system to drive the system. And it is, to a point. And Get Golf Ready is a good system to teach the 5 steps and get people on the golf course, because one of the other steps is take them to the golf course, okay? But you walk into Long Beach, and I'm telling you, Dennis and his staff's the only staff in Long Beach running group lessons and doing we don't call it Get Golf Ready, and I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna get ahold of Nikki and I'm gonna change the title, Get Golf Ready. We're teaching the same program that Get Golf Ready is, but we haven't been calling it Get Golf Ready. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna apply and make our facility a Get Golf Ready facility.
Can you quantify that and everything that you do to the bottom line? Can you actually quantify that on paper, take that to your employer and say, here's what our program does?
Yeah, they've given me a budget and they're going, oh, good, you've made your budget for the year. You're right on track. That's all that they're concerned about. No, I don't mean it quite that way, because I am a valued employee. And they are really glad that I'm there, and they hired me to be there on an hourly basis. And that's how I make my money. I work 20 hours a week as a head pro. But I'm not involved in merchandising. I'm not involved in the other things that the PGA is trying to drive us and help us to be.
They see you as an asset in a different area because
Sure.
of the way that they do business. In other words,
Correct.
they would rather
But-
have you spend your
But
time.
then, Ken, my
there
point
versus-
now is, how do we change that for not necessarily my facility, because right now it's probably not gonna change. But you were talking over here about trying to move into new golf courses and trying to drive new business and go out and seeing these principalities or municipal golf courses that don't have a PGA pro. You can't let them be like, quote, and I'm gonna use, just say, the city of Long Beach PGA pros. We're instructors. But you need to, somehow, we have to figure out how, when they don't have a facility and you're trying to drive a new PGA pro in there, that he has to be involved in the company, or he has to be involved in, because you've trained us all, and some of the mentors that we've had have trained us really on how to merchandise and how to do some of this stuff, and the other bottom lines. But I'm telling you that there's a lot of courses out there that could care less whether we're a PGA facility or whether we're a golf course. Now, when you get into the private facilities, and I've worked in privates and I've worked in resorts as well, we're really important to them. But the municipalities, specifically Long Beach, and I wish Mr. Cannett was still here, because he's on the board for the mayor, and he tries to make us more valuable, but the city and American Golf doesn't care. And how do you do? And I'm a guy that's going, now how do I defeat that? How do I get more involved, other than forcing myself into places that they don't want me to be in?
I hear everything you're saying every day, from employers, from PGA professionals. And so what you're saying actually has a lot of substance. The one thing I hear, and the one thing I know about employment, employers are gonna hire the best person for the job. If that's a PGA professional, great. If that's a CMAA person, that's great. If that's somebody off the street, that's great. We're gonna hire the best person for the position. It's our responsibility to be that best person and to improve our business skills and focus those skills on the things that are consistent with the priorities of those companies. And the management companies, they are putting out a lot of jobs right now, and they're looking for a lot of business people with business skills. And those business skills include things like sales, food and beverage skills, finance, understanding of finance. Those things generally aren't the priorities all the time of what golf professionals are. That's why we have a 20% fill rate on general manager positions. We're not interested necessarily in going that direction, and they're difficult jobs. And that's the reality, and that's why a lot of those opportunities become non-PGA filled positions. That's for sure. I just want to say one more thing, and then we'll get the rest of this moving in a different direction. I want to talk about complacency real quick, because this is something that concerns me in the industry. There's a golf professional who has been in the facility for 10 years. And he calls me up and he says, I just lost my job. And I say, okay, what happened? He says, I have no idea. I had no idea it was coming, and I have no idea why. The chairman of the search committee calls me up and says, we'd like to meet with you. And so I go to that facility and I meet with their board and I meet with their chair. And I say, can you explain to me why you're making this transition? What you didn't have and what you now have. In other words, what was wrong with your last situation? They say, absolutely nothing. And I said, well, you had the same professional for 10 years who was loyal to you, who worked hard for you, who helped you establish the club. And they said, you're absolutely right. And there was absolutely nothing wrong. And I said, then why did you make a change? And they said, because we want something different. We want to see growth, and we want to see something different, and we felt like our golf professional became complacent at his work and did things the same thing, same way, every day. I fear for some of us in this room that we're in that position right now. And so all I'm going to do is, no matter what direction, what classification you have, is that you go back to your work and you think, is that me? Because it's happening on a daily basis. So I'm going to leave you with that, something to think about. And don't be scared of change, and don't be scared of growth. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Thanks very much, Ken. You know, the landscape certainly has changed. To Dennis's point, 40 years ago, golf professionals that worked for cities owned the golf shop, owned the rental clubs, owned the golf cars, and made very nice livings as representatives. And the city council all knew them because they were heroes in the community. The mayor was a member of the club, and it's upside down now, and it's not going to go back. So all we can do is be relevant and important and significant. And to do that, one needs to tell a compelling story. And as frustrating as our association can be at times, there are tools to help tell that story. And yeah, Rick, you had a question or comment?
Yeah, do we have time? You okay?
We're going to take your question, and then we're going to have Mr. Addis give us a quick update on the CEO of the PGA of America and the last 9 minutes of the Ryder Cup video. So, yes, we have time.
I just wanted to add to what you said about the buying little golf courses, the PGA buying small facilities.
Or funding the shortfalls.
Right, if that were a possibility. You know, we all know there's a Little League program and a Pop Warner program and a soccer program, and any kid of any level can go play any sport. And I think our junior tour does a wonderful, wonderful job, and they have wonderful players, and they have a wonderful growth program too, the JDL. I just think that there's maybe the same 100 kids playing every year or every event at different courses. It's the same 100 kids. They're all good players, and then in the JDL, the same 100 kids go to this course, and next week we have the same field with small variations. A Little League program, every Little League field you go to has, I don't know, 1,000 kids in a Little League program that all live in that city and are all playing for the first time. And 10 miles away at a different Little League field, there's 1,000 different kids playing versus the same 100 kids playing good golf, going over to this course and playing good golf. If the PGA owned a bunch of little courses, maybe 3 per chapter or something, they could run a Little League program. They could have literally 500 kids that don't play golf at all that have somewhere to go play some bad golf and learn to play good golf. Because I think we're well represented on great young kids that play great golf and some kids that are learning to play golf. But there just isn't a facility to play golf as a child. There really isn't. You can't come to, my golf course and find 3 kids that are waiting to play and give them a fourth and get them out going. We offer it, but there's not that large gathering spot that 100 kids who don't know how to play golf can play in a league.
Well, and point taken, I think it's one of the reasons that team golf or concepts that involve children playing together as teams is really where children ought to be going in the game of golf. There are going to be plenty of competitors who take the game seriously, but when you introduce the notion that you can play on a team like soccer or Little League, you're now reaching a completely different audience. And those are things that I'm sure you'll see here in the very near future. And And we're lucky to have our junior golf czar with us this morning. Mr. Sargent, if you've got anything to add to that. I mean, the team component, I think that that's a strong way to introduce children.
There is a Little League Golf Association now. It's pretty strong in a couple areas, and they're trying to move into this area. Is there anybody involved with that at all?
Sean,
Yeah.
yes?
I'm actually speaking at the PGA show on Tuesday for the Junior Golf League about our club and our experience. They asked me to speak, but we've had a great success. Our female professional has actually been asked by them to go back to the Nationals. Our team went to Nationals last year. We just had regionals up in LA last weekend. We had 2 of our boys. But we have about 16 kids at our club. We're a private club with only 150 members. It's a young membership, but it's been a hit, you know, with our younger members, you know, with having a team. The kids have uniforms where they have, you know, so they feel a part of the team, and it's been a great concept, you know.
Now Derek is running that program for you, or helping you with that, yes?
Yes,
Yeah.
but Kristen runs it for us. She's a PGA apprentice, and she's done a great job.
Beautiful. And Tom, you know, I mean, watching your kids come through the soccer ranks for all those years, there's something compelling about being with other children that have similar interests. I think it's an important way to consider growing the game. Yes, sir.
We did that 100 years ago in the private sector. We talked about it. It's called the Hill Bryan Junior League. I'm sure I'm not the only older one in here that remembers that league. Private country club.
Yeah.
There was 5 teams in the league. One country club hosted, the other 4 played. We could get something with that municipal part, getting each facility having a team, running it, something like that. I think something like that would fly with a lot of hard work.
Well, I do too, and I think that the difference sometimes is that you have a team, but everyone's playing an individual game or match. What I'm envisioning in some cases is 5 children on a team playing a scramble. Or 5.
There's an organization called U.S. Golf Little League that they just had their national championship back in New York. I have 2 kids that played on the team. They have there's about 20 teams in the city of Long Beach. They play Little Wreck and Hartwell every week, and they played against, there were 4 other states I know currently involved in it, and they just had, it's called U.S. Golf Little League. And I saw that the PGA is starting to advertise the new golf league. It was during the PGA, they had it advertised that they were promoting the new golf Little League match play type of tournament. And this is 4 players on a team, and they play a scramble format. And they went back, and the team from Long Beach was national champs this year.
That's great. What time are you speaking in Las Vegas on Tuesday?
1:30.
At 1:30. At the Venetian?
I don't know the details yet, but at 1:30, I know it's at 1:30.
All right.
And it is a scramble for the
Right.
JGL. It's a 2-person scramble. They play 3-hole matches, and then they fill in kids, so a kid may not play all 9 holes. That way more kids can participate. And so they play 3-hole matches. It's 2-person scramble against the other team.
Wonderful. Great stuff.